Hey everyone, and welcome to something very new. As requested, I will be doing a fanfiction set in the world of Bethesda's legendary franchise, Fallout. Now, there is something I have to say here, and I will say this before every single episode. This was written before Fallout 4 came out, years actually. This is an older project of mine. The story takes place after the events of all the games, not including Fallout 4. It takes place as if all the quote unquote perfect endings were achieved and the nation is being rebuilt. There is a beautiful peace between the NCR, the Brotherhood of Steel, and all the factions in the Wasteland. I won't say any more since that would spoil things. Just keep all that in mind as I tell the story. But without further ado, I hope you enjoy Iron Wrath. Iron Wrath, a Fallout fanfiction. Part 1, Divine Intervention. War. War never changes. This is especially true for the Brotherhood of Steel. From their founding, they have been warriors in their power armors, hiding in their bunker, warring with the super mutants of the Mariposa military base, and hoarding their pre-war technology. Though the West Coast branch may have faded over the years and the East Coast branch may have flourished in its new world, there have been other branches, and some of them have been undisclosed to the world. One such group were the Divine Paladins, a group of 15 elite T-51 clad warriors who had denounced their names and took new ones and conducted secret missions across the wastes. The leader of this group was an imposing man standing at 6 feet 6 inches tall, a master of combat and strategy, a genius beyond his time. His old name has been stricken from all records. He was only known as Zeus. If it was war with the mutants, NCR, or the Enclave, Zeus was always there with his divine paladins conducting secret missions in the shadows, never seen, only legends of their deeds have been told, or for their enemies horror stories shared at campfires. Their last contact with the West Coast branch were orders to investigate an Enclave movement in the ruins of the old world state of New York. They were never seen again. Whether they were killed in battle or decided to hang up their power armor and start new lives remains unknown. Though some caravan heads doing trades in the Empire Wasteland have heard whispers of an older man who owns a set of T-51 power armor, keeping the peace in the towns and settlements outside and around the city of Skyrise. Though this could be just a story to bring hope to children, but some stories have truth behind them. The irradiated land steamed hot as Eric Sands walked down the cracked and destroyed road that used to be the I-95. Tinted goggles cover his eyes, protecting them from the sandstorm that rages, and the warm blue jumpsuit with a yellow 25 printed on his back covers his body. His unkempt shoulder-length hair, made dirty by the sand, would normally be a pale blonde, but has been stained a red tint from the storm. Each step he takes is a struggle against the strong winds and the flying sand. The ruins of a Poseidon Energy gas station sits off to his right, and for Eric right now, it is his sanctuary. An old burned wreck of a Corvega sits next to the long-destroyed fuel pump, and Eric can see that there are people hiding behind it. He should have known better. This is a perfect spot for highwaymen to stage an ambush. Knowing what to expect, he continues slowly, waiting for them to make their move. "Alright, fucko, that's close enough," the leader of the highwaymen says, standing up, pointing a .44 Magnum at Eric. "Hand over your caps, any weapons, and water you have, and maybe we'll let you leave with the clothes on your back." Their leader is a scummy man, grizzled beard covered in the last thing he ate. His bald head shows the scars from all his past fights. The other two emerge from behind the old car, one holding a rusted switchblade and the other with a 9mm that is ready to fall apart. Eric says nothing and slowly raises his arms above his head, allowing the highwaymen to come closer to him. The leader trains his gun to his head while the other two work searching him. They find 200 caps in a pouch on his waist, as well as 2 bottles of water tied to a rope slung over his shoulder. "He ain't got no weapon, boss," the one with the broken 9mm says. "Is that so? Well, fucko, here was your piece. You're not packing? That's real stupid to walk these roads and not carry anything," he says, laughing, his teeth a terrible yellow. "No reason to carry a weapon before. I'm usually never bothered," Eric says, his voice cold but strong. "Well, that was before. Now give me them goggles. I like 'em." "Take them yourself. Kinda hard to do it with my hands raised." The lead studies Eric, slowly walking closer, never taking the Magnum off of him. Getting close enough to reach around his head, he presses the gun into Eric's chest. Moving like a flash of lightning, Eric twists his body, grabbing the 44 and turns it towards the highwayman with the broken 9mm. The leader fires instinctively, putting a bullet through his comrade's chest and to the ground dead. Forcefully taking the magnum from him, Eric puts the barrel beneath the jaw and fires, sending bits of skull and brain matter into the air in red mist. Throwing the body down, he turns the gun to the one with the switchblade but doesn't fire. "Please don't," he begs. "I won't kill you, but I want all your caps, weapons, and water," Eric says mockingly. The lone highwayman throws down everything he had and raises his hands. "Good," Eric starts. "Now go tell all your friends about what happened here. Warn them never to stalk the I-95 again. You got it, fucko?" Yeah, I got it," the highwayman says in a panic before turning and running off and disappearing into the sandstorm. Once he is out of sight, Eric turns the 44 in his hand, studying it. It is worn, old of course, but it should serve purpose for protection. He picks up his water and caps and then searches the dead bodies, finding 50 more caps, rounds for the magnum, and a rusted key around the leader's neck. "A locker key," Eric says, turning the key in his hand several times. Putting everything in its place, he heads into the gas station to find that this was the highwayman's camp. A still-lit campfire sits in the back corner under a hole in the ceiling. 3 makeshift bedrolls lay near with junk scattered around here and there. The building has been gutted long ago, leaving an empty cavity. A short hallway is on the right of Eric, and he slowly heads that way. It leads to a restroom and a cleaning closet, the latter of 2 completely empty. The toilet in the bathroom is shattered into pieces, but the sink still seems to work, though most likely terribly irradiated. Beneath the sink is a footlocker, and without a doubt the key Eric found goes to it. He kneels and unlocks it to find a small cache of food and 100 more caps. Eric puts the caps with his and looks through the food. Can of cram, pork and beans, and a pound of what he hopes is preserved squirrel meat. He takes it all and heads back to the campfire. Growing up as a descendant of vault dwellers meant he never had to scourge for food. Eric grew up in Skyrise, a settlement atop the ruined skyscrapers of an old-world city of New York, often called the Big Apple. But he never understood what apples had to do with the city. Skyrise was founded by the men and women who emerged from Vault 25 150 years after the bombs fell. From the stories he had been told, one of his ancestors was one of the main founders, but history never interested Eric. He only wanted to focus on the here and now of the world. When he turned 20, which was the age for forced marriage and employment, he rebelled and left Skyrise, fending for himself for the past 4 years. Eric has ran with mercenaries, caravan guards, even worked as a farmhand over those 4 years. But now he is on his way to his next source of income, helping build the new transcontinental railway connecting all the major settlements together. Eric opens the can of cram and heats it over the fire. He's learned it's best to cook the instant meat before eating it. It kills anything that could make him sick, and actually improves the taste. As he eats it, he pulls out a worn paper map and unfurls it in the light of the fire. "Another day's walk and I should be in the spot they're working on," he says to himself, only the silence responding. He has been walking for a week now to get to the railway. Eric just hopes that the pay is worth the work. He finishes the cram and conservatively drinks some water before lying down in the makeshift bedding and getting some needed rest. The sounds of shouting and hammers on steel fill the air as iron tracks are laid on the cracked, dried ground. Teams of workers move the 30-foot rails from the train carts into place so teams of welders and hammerers can secure them to the ground. The near 500-man team has another 50 or so miles to go before they meet up with another team working the railway south, in a small town outside of Skyrise known as Cherry Bend. A tall, older man, possibly in his late 50s, standing on the rail cart shouts commands, guiding the workers on what to do. When he shouts, they answer in unison, "Yes, foreman." The foreman takes a dirty rag from his work overalls and wipes the sweat from his face. "Hot as hell today. Hot as hell yesterday. Going to be hot tomorrow, too," he says to no one in particular. "More than you know, Odysseus," a woman in a pantsuit says, walking over to him. "Senator Patricia, why is the NCR checking up on me today?" The senator smiles and joins him up on top of the cart. "For paperwork mostly, seeing how far you are, how many rails you have left." She's an attractive woman for her age, only a few years younger than Odysseus. California-born, gray hair cut shoulder length. "Just here to fill paperwork, nothing fun, sorry," she says with a smile. The two sit down on the stack of iron rails. Odysseus sighs, shaking his head. "This is taking longer than it should. Over 50 of my workers died this week alone. Between the weather, lack of food, and those blasted death claws that attack our camps at night from time to time, We're all going to be dead in 2 weeks' time. We can send you more workers, but food will take a while to get to you. As for the death claws, I think I can pull some favors and send a few of my rangers your way. Odysseus stands and turns, looking at his workers. We need food over all that. My men are starving, and we can't even send guys to forage the waste because of those abominations out there. Patricia turns and looks at the workers. She knows he is right. Between all that he said, he will be lucky if they make it in the next 2 weeks. I'll have my men go out hunting while I'm staying here, a few days or so. It should help you get some food for these people. The Deathclaws, though. They'll be ripped to pieces. I don't want more blood spilled. The senator stands, a little laughter slipped through her lips. You don't give my men much credit. They're some of the best marksmen in the NCR. Sorry, but I've seen Deathclaws rip through power armor like it was a tin can. Your marksmen may get some shots off on the bastards, but it'll only piss it off. Odysseus looks off to the hills where the beasts come from. Tell your men to hunt, but avoid those hills. And if they do see a Deathclaw, avoid it at all cost. I'll tell them. Maybe tonight there'll be meat over the fires for your men. I'd like that, Patricia. I really would. He turns and looks down at her. Thank you. Really, thank you. The senator stands and steps off the cart only to turn back and look up at him. You're a good man, Odysseus. We worked together all these years. You know I'd do anything to help you out. Come by my tent later. Brought a bottle of wine with me, pre-war wine, from a place called the Vineyards. I'd hate not to share it. The gesture alone makes the old man smile. I may take you up on that offer. Could use a good drink after the week I had. The moon rises through black clouds of the Empire wasteland. The hard work is done for the night now, and with the haul the two marksmen brought, it was nearly a feast for everyone. Everyone had mole rat steak this night, and enough leftovers to make gallons of stew with it. Tonight is for celebration. With the food stocks full, nothing could be better to the overall morale of the camp. The tent city that is playing home to all the workers is alive with song and sounds of revelry. These sounds can be heard for miles in the wasteland, either scaring away unwanted creatures or drawing predators in closer. For Eric Sands, it is his beacon showing him where his next job will be. He walks through the tents and campfires after being pointed in the direction of the foreman's tent. He isn't used to hearing the sounds of joy. In the wastes, joy is something rarer than fresh water. As he gets to the center of the camp, the sounds he's so foreign to turn to sounds he knows too well. Screams of terror, screams of death are heard coming from far at the end of the campsite, and almost instinctively Eric takes off towards the sound. As he gets closer, more screams are heard, and a mangled torso rests against a destroyed tent. He pays no attention to the terrible gore and presses forward, now pulling it out to his .44. Coming into a clearing and the scene of the screams, Eric is taken back by what he now faces. A deathclaw larger than a normal specimen of his species stands over the mutilated bodies of workers. This size isn't the only unnatural trait this monster has. The normally scaly hide a deathclaw would have seems to have melted away, showing bright red muscle and some bone. The mutated and disfigured beast drops the severed head in its 12-inch claws and turns its black eyes onto Eric. Oh shit, he says, looking up at the towering blood-covered monstrosity. With a deafening roar, the deathclaw charges and Eric dives forward and out of its path. As it turns, its long tail whips around, destroying the surrounding tents. Eric rolls to his feet and fires off 3 shots, but each round only bounces off its skull. Charging again, the deathclaw barrels forward and lunges down at Eric. He steps to his side as the creature is recovering, leaps onto its shoulders, and begins firing more rounds into the deathclaw's head. The beast thrashes, shredding more tents, and then takes off towards the center of camp. Workers run for their life as Eric and the beast crash through. He holds onto the horns on the back of its head, trying not to get thrown. The Deathclaw collides with a full plaque, sporting the NCR's two-headed bear flag, snapping it like a twig. The beast bucks and throws Eric hard, hitting the ground. With possibly a few broken ribs, he struggles to his feet. Picking up the shattered flagpole, he grits his teeth and charges the Deathclaw. The monster lets out a grotesque screech as the pole pierces the soft flesh under its jaw and goes through its head, stopping at the back of its skull. Eric continues to push on the pole until the monster goes limp and stops moving. He heaves the makeshift spear down and falls onto his backside, panting. Everyone gathers around Eric and the strange mutated Deathclaw. They all whisper, looking at the young man no one recognizes. How can someone slay a Deathclaw like that? Who is this hero? What is wrong with that thing? Are all amongst the words being whispered. Christ! Who the hell are you? Eric turns and looks up at the older man in a wine-stained long johns. Who the hell are you? I'm Odysseus, the foreman of this team. Now answer my question, son. Name's Eric Sands, and I'm here for a job. And with that said, Eric falls backward, passed out from the pain in his body from being thrown. Eric wakes through the cloud of medics, groggy and in pain. The sun seems to be just coming up. He swings his feet over to the side of the cot and finds that he is only in his underclothes. Gauze wraps around his body where his broken ribs are. He looks around and sees Odysseus sitting on the other side of the tent watching him. "You saved my entire camp," he starts. "You put down that death claw like you did it before. Have you, son? Have you killed one?" Eric shakes his head, not able to find his voice. Odysseus looks at him, studying him, trying to figure out how one man could dispatch such a fearsome foe without heavy weapons. "Well, I owe you greatly. The bastard has been killing my men for weeks now. Had you patched up, broke a few things. You'll be fine, though. For fighting a Deathclaw, you came out better than most." "Thank you, sir," Eric manages. Odysseus stands and pours Eric a glass of water. It's warm, but it's clean. He thanks him and takes a sip. "So, it may not seem like the good time, but about that job." The old man laughs with a hearty belly laugh. "Son, after what you did, you can have any position in this place. Everyone out there owes you their life. I was hoping to have you take a spot on my security team, if you're comfortable with that sort of work." "I'll be happy to. I'm familiar with that work." "Mercenary or caravan guard?" the old man asks. "Both," Eric says, taking another sip. Odysseus smiles and helps Eric to his feet. "Come with me." Eric doesn't question, only follows him out of the tent and to the corpse of the Deathclaw. With the dawn sun rising, it's easier to get a better look at the monster Eric killed last night. The skin, in fact, has been peeled off, it seems, more or less melted off as it looks in some spots. And parts of the body are mutated more than its normal counterpart. "What does it look like to you, son?" Odysseus asks, kneeling down next to the beast. Eric looks at a Deathclaw. He has never seen one before, but he has heard tales of them, and this does not match the stories. "It doesn't have any scales, no skin, like a ghoul." The old man stands nodding. "Exactly like a ghoul, but that's impossible." "Why? If this thing nested near a radiation source, it would eventually become a ghoul. It happens to humans all the time." "No, Deathclaws are immune to radiation. It wouldn't bother them at all. Something made this creature go through ghoulification. It's not something natural," Odysseus says, his voice full of dark omens. Eric can hear it in the old man's voice. He knows something more about this, something he doesn't want to share. He doesn't push the suspicion he is feeling, though he wants to know more about the thing he killed. Odysseus turns the Deathclaw's head with his boot. "Well, it is dead, and I need you to get ready for your new job," the old man says, smiling. They return to the tent and discuss the spa and the security team further. As Eric dresses, Odysseus asks some questions to get to know the man who saved everyone's life. "I see you're from a vault. What was their catch?" As Eric zips up his jumpsuit, he explains the history of the vault his ancestors came from. "Well, from the stories I was told, they had no lights in the vault. Total darkness down there. I guess Vault-Tec forgot to ship lights to the place, but they adapted, learned to live in the dark, learned to see in the dark, and eventually it was passed down to their kids, and by its final generation that lived in 25, they had total natural night vision. By the time I was born, the trait lessened, but we are still sensitive to the light, which is why I wear these," he says as he puts on the tinted goggles. Odysseus nods. "Your vault got off lucky. Some stories I heard sound like cruel experiments. A vault with one man and 99 women, another with the opposite of that. Even one with fooled around with cloning. A vault in total darkness, well, it could have been worse." Eric shrugs as everything he owns is back on his person. "I'm not one to dwell in the past. Sure, it's good to know where you came from, but I'd rather focus on where I'm heading." Odysseus continues to nod, learning everything he can from Eric. "That can be a good attitude to have, as long as you learn from the past to make sure you never repeat the mistakes of our forefathers." Eric looks over at the older man. "No offense, but you talk very differently from the people in the wasteland. You're educated, been through a lot, seen a lot of action. Am I wrong?" "No, you're right. Very perceptive," Odysseus says with a smile. "In my youth I traveled alongside a great adventurer. Been across the entire country from New Reno to the Commonwealth. I've seen it all, fought more than my fair share of things. On top of that, I was educated and taught to read, and I made it a point to find books in the rubble." "Who was the adventurer you traveled with?" Eric asks. At the question, Odysseus tenses up. "No one you would know. No one famous." The old man steps towards the flap of the tent. "Come on. We have to get you some new supplies and a better weapon to suit your new position." Eric follows him out of the tent into the next part of his life. Good work for good caps. He is unsure about his new employer Odysseus, but he is indebted to the young Eric for saving the entire workforce. So he may as well ride this out to see where it takes him. And that will be it for part 1 of 5 of Iron Wrath. Is there something more sinister going on in the Empire Wasteland with these strange monsters showing up? I am not sure how the schedule for the series will be. This is a bit harder to write than the other fan fictions I write, and they take more time to do so because they are much longer. So this may be a bi-weekly series, or it goes up when the chapters are finished. Bi-weekly at the most, though. I take great pride in my writing and I love doing it for you guys. I always appreciate all feedback, both negative and positive, so leave your thoughts on the story in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share it around. It helps me grow the channel and I really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitch to know when all my videos go live, as well as to know when I'm doing something special. And, as always, this has been Black Phoenix. Thanks for watching, everyone.